This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
And there it is, that's as good as it gets on this stage. Nissan Townstar EV strikes again. It's an unstoppable van, unstoppable.
Just fantastic. You can actually see the Pro Pilot technology in action. Effortless parallel parking.
It moves with all the confidence that comes with a 5-year warranty.
And with a bench full of all-star van experts, there's real strength in depth here.
That's all-star quality.
Search Nissan Townstar EV and visit your local all-star van centre to see for yourself.
Terms and conditions apply. 5 years or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first.
Pro Pilot is an advanced driver assist technology. Driver's responsibility to stay alert, drive safely, and control vehicle at all times.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
And welcome to another edition of the Away End. I'm Craig Courtney and I'm joined today by Joe Puddifoot, who is from the Charlton Live Podcast. So, Joe, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Quick recap of where we are. From a Birmingham front, scarily, I'm saying we've gone 7 games on the bounce now with wins. We're unbeaten this season and 5 points clear at the top of the table, which is pleasant for ourselves. Yourselves, a little bit different, I better say indifferent season so far is probably the best way to put it. I think of the games that you've played, and after a midweek loss to Bristol, but I believe you were 3-0 down at one point, come back to 3-2. So come back there, but played 9, won 4, lost 4, and drew 1 for yourselves. Mixture as far as the season's concerned. But tell us a little bit first of all about your podcast, how long you've been going, etc., and then we'll go into a little bit about Charlton themselves.
Yeah, so Charlton Live's been going for a very long time now. I couldn't give you an exact time, but it's been more of a group therapy session than anything else of late. It's sort of run by Louis Mendes, who's also part of BBC Radio London coverage. And then it's obviously just a group of fans who go on and normally moan over the last few seasons about how awful we've been, and just try and help everybody else recover from a bleak Saturday on a Sunday morning. Start the season, it was a bit more cheery, but we're well used to the early season drop off at this point over the last few years of the season. So it's more of, as I say, that group therapy session. But it's quite good. It's quite a good show. We get a fair few numbers sort of listening in. And it's on YouTube and podcasts twice a week. So, yeah, Sundays and Thursdays.
Excellent. So we mentioned that about the indifferent start to the season, but tell us a little bit about Charlton. So, obviously we've met recently in the cup, but I never take anything from that first round of the cup as a dead certain, because it's normally when you give the opportunity for the youngsters, and only the second game into the season as well, it makes a big difference. So tell us, where's your thoughts on the season? What were your expectations when you started the season? And give us a bit of a lowdown on the team, formation, players to look out for, and of course, who should we be looking at as a threat as we go into the weekend's game?
So, going into the off season, we had a lot of dross at the club that we needed to get rid of, and the axe was swung fairly sort of surgical precision like in its action, and quite a lot of players left, and there are a couple of them that still haven't found a club. So that tells you everything you need to know about the caliber of player that we were foisted upon us last season.
We know it well.
We last season, to just give you a bit of an idea of how cataclysmically bad it was, we signed 23 players last season, and 9 of them remained at the club at the end of the season. So that tells you just how bad it was, just searching for any solution and normally coming up with a bad one. We got started really early in pre-season. We signed a lot of players very early on, and had the bulk of the squad in for the whole of pre-season. And as a result, we came into the season particularly fit, which I think is part of the reasons we did so well at the start of the season. But the big problem that we have is when we're on the ball, we lack that player to dictate the play, dictate the flow, and move the ball through the thirds and create opportunities. We've been solid, we've been disciplined, we've been structured, but we've just been awful to watch. And that's okay when you're winning. But now that we're not winning, the tide is turning, I think, maybe a bit quicker than some would think looking from the outside, considering how well we were at the start, because we've put one good performance in this season, and that was against Bolton. The rest of the performances, cup games aside, have been pretty poor. And we've sort of saying, well, we've won again, okay, but we haven't been saying that now for the last 3 games, and it feels like it's going to be a big slog until January. Until we can get that type of player in to really turn us from a team that are structured and in theory difficult to beat to one that's, difficult to contain as well. And I think that players and teams have worked out that actually we're not too threatening going forward. So you can just sort of sit in, be difficult to break down, and then try and hit us on the break. And goals from outside the box are a real weakness. You've already scored 1. I think we've conceded 6 or 7 of our goals from this season from outside the box.
What do you put that down to? I mean, is it purely down to that lack of holding stroke player in the midfield, or do you think it's just a general team hasn't gelled yet?
I think it's a number of things. The caliber of midfielder, we've got a lot of hard-working, one-dimensional midfielders, and that doesn't help us. And if you're doing that all the time, then obviously you're not controlling the ball. And if you're not controlling the ball, you're not getting rest time. Goals from outside the box are because we work really hard at defending our box, and then eventually people get an opportunity and they know it will come. So normally I think teams are now starting to put their players that are half decent from range, just sort of sat on the edge of the box as well, which it again isn't helping. So it's a number of different factors, but when it's one of those, isn't it, in football, if you think you're not going to concede, then the strikers think, oh, hang on, we only need 3 or 4 chances. 1 goes in and you're on to a winner. If you're not going to score, the defence think, bloody hell, we cannot make a mistake. And so for the language, but that's the mentality, I think, in the team. And if you miss 1 or 2 chances, the team are like, well, today's not going to be the day. Ghassan Hadmi is our main striker in terms of minutes this season, and he's averaging a shot per game. That's 96th in the rankings for all League One players. Wow. So that tells you that he's not getting opportunities. And as a striker, if you've got a maximum of a shot a game, the pressure when that ball drops on you to put it in the back of the net is just monumentally high. And I don't think that that's particularly helping. So all of that is part of it. And also looking back at last season, we were awful. We were quite lucky really not to be relegated is the honest answer. So you've got quite a big turnaround to do, and we just haven't got there. But it is personnel, it is structure as well. We play a 3-5-2 with the wing backs and a holding midfield player, and teams at the minute are pressing with 4 and just taking that out. And all we do then is lump it long, and we don't have from the start. Who'll come on after 60 minutes, Chucks, and you'll see Lieber, I imagine, after 60 minutes as well, who have both very big boys who can bring the ball down and control the game that way. But we don't have that to start with, and that means that you're sort of on a wing and a prayer, really. And but we just got to get through to January, I think, is the honest answer. I was very confident going in when we just weren't being beaten, but now the defence has started to creak and fall apart. It's a bit more of a worrying concern.
So your lack of goal scoring. Obviously, Birmingham took Alfie May in the summer. I've got to say, first of all, from a Charlton fan's perspective, I think the impression I got was you loved the guy when he was there, and actually there was a lot of respect shown, especially from his leaving video, which I've got to say, from a player's perspective, I don't think I can say I've seen a player do something and be as open and honest as what he was with that. But do you think part of your issue with scoring the goals is purely the fact that you haven't replaced Alfie May?
No, May was going come what may. Actually, I think in this window, Jones dropped him a couple of times. We were subbing him off early in games. He doesn't suit the way that we play, and he wouldn't make a difference. Is my honest opinion to us at the minute. If he was going to go to any team, then the Man City of League One is a good place for him to go, because you guys you're throwing fun tokens around like there's an endless supply of them, and he's not going to actually. I don't think Alfie May makes a difference between you going up or not. I think you got regardless. And at the minute, the way that we're playing, the way that we're creating, I don't think he scores goals particularly for us. So I'd rather have the money. But I think I would rather have us reinvested it into someone that was going to create opportunities for us, because we've got 7 strikers, I think, at the club who all on their day can put it away. But if they're not getting opportunities to, then it's redundant. We could have Messi, Ronaldo, and Brazilian Ronaldo up front at the minute, and they wouldn't touch the ball. So it'd be just a pointless endeavour.
And I mean, we've got to look back over the records before we come into talking about some of the players. But as clubs, we've met each other quite a few times, over the years. And actually, it shows in terms of how close things have actually been, because we've had 22 games that Birmingham have won. We've had 21 games that we've drawn. And actually, just ahead, Charlton, 24 games that they've won. So it's overall really, really close in terms of the time between the clubs. And there's a fair few absolute brilliant games that we've had across the years. The last 5 follows the same trend: 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. 2 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. The last one was obviously our 1-0 win with yourselves in the League Cup. And to be honest, Keeler scoring that wonder goal on the evening, he now cannot get anywhere near our first team. In fact, he was there on the box for a couple of games, and now down with the 21s, and still continuing to play well, but obviously it's 21s range. So we're going to the weekend. Obviously, we're on a high. There's no denying it. The team have got a lot of confidence. Alfie scoring, actually, been a while. He's been poorly as well, but he scored the only goal against Huddersfield on Tuesday night. But tell us, in terms of the squad, what are we to look out for in each of the positions? So from a defensive point of view, you've mentioned already you tend to have that structure, but is there anybody in particular we look out for? What's the strengths? What's the weaknesses, do you think, of the Charlton defence? Apart from, as you said, they seem to be leaking goals like a sieve at the moment.
I mean, if people ask me who do I look out for, I say you look out for the bench, because at the minute we've got Chuks Aneke, who is a absolute handful when he's on form. He was a couple of seasons ago, I think he was the top scorer per 90 minutes in the EFL, and he hasn't quite hit those heights this season, but he is still just an absolute menace. And I've yet to see a defender who's able to do anything but just be put in his pocket and dragged around the pitch. So he's always worth watching. And on the bench next to him on Saturday will be Miles Leaburn, who's a youngster, son of Carl Leaburn, former Charlton player. So, but he's, I think, 6'5" or something like that. I don't know if he's still 19 or if he's 20 yet, but he's just been on a year-long injury, and he's just coming back. So he's a bit rusty, but he's a big unit who's good with his feet. And you don't get too many of those. So when they both come on, because we're invariably chasing the game towards the end of the game on Saturday, then they'll be entertaining at the very least. And then if we can get our wing backs into it, Josh Edwards on the left was very, very good before Sean Clare attempted to remove his leg from his person with a awful challenge on the it's the second game of the season. Somehow managed to escape a red card, but he's just coming back now, so he hopefully will be either starting or available on Saturday off the bench. And he's a good attacking player, likes to play some nice little passes from left back. And then Kane Ramsey, if we're in the game or we're on top at any point, he's the right wing back, and he's got a little trick in his back pocket to pull out. But I would say just don't look at our defence. Sorry, don't look at our midfield at all, because we don't play to them. They might as well not be there. So don't worry about those guys at all. And then at the back, Mitchell, I think, is massive for us at right centre back. He'll be marshalling everything. If your fans are quiet at any stage in the first half or second half when you're kicking towards the fans, then you'll hear him. He's very, very vocal, and he's a good solid player. Lots of little cheeky blocks he likes to get in. So he's always a good watch himself. But you're sort of picking the bones really, as opposed to going people you can hang your hat on.
And it's goalkeeper. I mean, obviously this is a position that, to me, is probably the hardest one to pick across any team in this league. I haven't yet, including Birmingham, seen a goalkeeper that I think has really stood out. What's your keeper like? And I guess the $1 million question: are you another team that likes to play out from the back?
And there it is, that's as good as it gets on this stage. Nissan Townstar EV strikes again. It's an unstoppable van, unstoppable.
Just fantastic. You can actually see the Pro Pilot technology in action. Effortless parallel parking.
It moves with all the confidence that comes with a 5-year warranty.
And with a bench full of all-star van experts, there's real strength in depth here.
That's all-star quality.
Search Nissan Townstar EV and visit your local all-star van centre to see for yourself.
Terms and conditions apply. 5 years or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first.
ProPilot is an advanced driver assist technology. Driver's responsibility to stay alert, drive safely, and control vehicle at all times.
Let's talk about something that's not always top of mind, but still really important: life insurance. Why? Because it offers financial protection for your loved ones and can help them pay for things like a mortgage, credit card debt. It can even help fund an education. And guess what? Life insurance is probably a lot more affordable than you think. In fact, most people think life insurance is 3 times more expensive than it is. So with State Farm Life Insurance, you can protect your loved ones without breaking the bank. Not sure where to start? State Farm has over 19,000 local agents that can help you choose an option to fit your needs and budget. Get started today and contact a State Farm agent or go to statefarm.com.
We're a team. Well, we don't really like to do it. We're not very good at it, but we have a go. At Tuesday, case in point against Bristol Rovers, we took a number of short goal kicks into Jones, who then laid it to left to Gillespie, and we got pressed, and then we just ended up hoofing it long out of panic. And we don't really have the midfield to do that. So more of our balls will be into the channels, longer balls, trying to win second balls, but probably without the press behind them to make that work for us. I think on Saturday, what we'll actually do is go back to where we were at the start of the season, and we're going to press quite aggressively, is how I would imagine. And the first 10 minutes of that Wrexham Birmingham game, I thought you guys actually looked very vulnerable to their physical press.
Yep.
And that is Jones's bread and butter. If we win the game, it'll be like that. And that's how we did Bolton. But in terms of our keeper, he's solid, fairly big, doesn't really make too many mistakes. But he's not had to make too many worldy saves either, because we haven't, until last couple of games, been conceding chances that are good goal scoring chances. We've been conceding to goals from 30, 40 yards that are just a bit inexplicable. So he's still very much untested, and he only came into us in the summer. So I can't really comment too much on him, but I think that we'll see really what his metal is made of come Saturday.
I think this will be interesting, actually, because the more you're talking about it, especially for the midfield, I mean, that's our strength at the moment. Also interesting you say about the press in the first start of the game, because I mentioned it on our show on Monday that it's almost as though Birmingham need 20, 25 minutes to wake up into the game, and then after that they've either sussed out the team and then they take the control, similar to the Wrexham game. Or as we did at the weekend against Peterborough, we shipped 2 goals, and then it was just like, what's going on? It looks as though we're going to ship more, and all of a sudden it was like somebody flicked the switch and they became a totally different team. And then the second half of games, that's been our strength. In past seasons, it's been the opposite way around. We've always started well and then ended really poorly. Now it's complete role reversal. But we've said on many occasions, and we've said it on Tuesday night, if only we could play a whole game like we do towards the back end of a game, it would be phenomenal to watch. It's great at the moment, but it'd be even better to watch. But our midfield is the strength. That's where everything is linked through. So we've got Williamson. He's a workhorse. He is all over the place. Similar to what you mentioned about one of your players. Tall, strong, brilliant on the ball. The ball just seems to stick to his feet as though he's got glue on his boots. And he can turn. I've never seen a big guy turn as well as what he does. Then you've got Paik and a Water. I mean, them pair at the moment are just phenomenal. A Watter's just got an engine that just doesn't stop. And he's not afraid to have a go at goal. So, you saying there, some of the goals conceded from distance, he's going to be the man that's going to be having a pop. He's far from afraid to have a strike. So I think it makes for a really interesting one. And for me, it'll be interesting to see whether they swap it up from what happened on Tuesday, to see whether we had Alfie May and Stansfield starting and playing off each other early doors, because they haven't really had that chance to play too much together. So they are still learning about each other. But obviously, Stano setting up May for the only goal of the evening was nice to see. And actually, there were a couple of occasions when they did interlock really, really well. So, can I predict how Davis will set up the team on Saturday? No, because whilst he may change things, it might just be a tweak to the formation. But our defence is solid. Ryan Allsop got his cracking goal on Tuesday as well, kept a clean sheet, so I can't see that changing. So it is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a tough game. It always is. Whenever we come down to yourselves, they are close games.
Yeah. I mean, a few of our fans have lumped, or we're talking about lumping on Twitter, Birmingham to score 5 after the way that we defended for the first hour in a Bristol Rovers game. But invariably, us this season, we start fairly well with some good intentions, and then fade around the 20-minute mark, and then struggle to. And our first halves have been, in general, have been our worst halves. We've only scored 1 before half time this season, and first goal wins. I think we've only conceded. We've only won 1 point from behind this season, and I don't think we've actually conceded any points from in front think if we've gone in front, we've won every game. So it's still very much that kind of side. So if we can get in and amongst in the first 20 minutes and nick a couple, and then go back to doing what we've been really, really good at, defending our box and making it really, really tricky, then that could be how we get something out of it, especially with the likes of Chucks and Leeburn coming on. But I think we've just lost our confidence, our belief and our mojo over the last sort of 3 or 4 games. So it's a big ask, I think, with the quality of the teams coming in. And we've got you, Wrexham and Stockport all in as I think our next 3 games. So it's not getting any easier for us either. And I think the players are aware of that. So whether, there's an element of let's just get through Saturday and then target the other 2, which are a bit more feasible for a team that's out of form. I don't know.
I mean, we're going, into, you've mentioned Chucks and Ike a couple of times there, actually, and it's a nice segue into the question around, can you name 5 players that have played for both clubs? And I'm going to say, you can't have Chucks now. You're not allowed.
Oh no, I'm having Chucks. I always have Chucks. Bielik obviously was us in the promotion season. And if any of your fans haven't seen it, Google Bielik getting kicked in the gentleman's region by a fan, which happened mid-celebration. A fan ran onto the pitch, slipped over, and foot went up and caught Bielik right in the unmentionables. So that's good. That was good fun.
Captain fantastic at the moment. So he's a phenomenal player. Very,
very, very good player. His price tag I thought was a bit rich when he went. Does it Derby he went to for 10 million? But wherever he went for 10 million, I thought that was a little bit rich at that time. But he was always a quality player. Brian Hughes from the Premier League era, who I always found him sort of fairly uninspiring on the ball, but good workmanlike, and occasionally would just come up with a bit of magic that you weren't expecting. But obviously we're going back a fair way there. Obviously you've got Alfie that's in there too, and you had Bowyer, didn't you, for a while, who of course cut his cloth in South East London before moving on, and actually managed Bielik. And obviously then went to manage you and took Chucks with him and sent him back when he remembered just how injury prone he was. I don't know how he forgot that in the 4 weeks he wasn't with us, but he did. So that's 5, I think, actual players. I'm sure there's loads and loads more that you're about to rattle off.
You mentioned Brian Hughes. Furiously, he scored one of the most peachy goals against Birmingham before he signed for us in the FA Cup. And then when he came, he was brilliant. Loved him because he was, like you say, you play a game where you just wouldn't notice him. And the next thing, you just do just that one little nugget of magic. And it just turned everything on its head. And he scored some fantastic goals for Birmingham and did us proud over the years. We mentioned Alfie May. Got to say, so we've got Shahid Kamara was transferred between the clubs. Central midfielder, I believe last season. It must have been a youngster because I've got to say I can't remember him coming into the first team squad. You've mentioned Chucks and Ike. Wow, a player that at Birmingham never ever took off, and that's Jonathan Lecco. And I think, came to themselves on loan, didn't he? And it's that guy had, to me, a talent that nobody seemed to be able to get to actually trigger and fire. And it was really strange because he had the world at his feet at times and had opportunities to go and do stuff, and he never, ever took off. And it was such a shame because when he came to us, there was this big, he's going to be brilliant, do really great. Unfortunately not.
When Lecco's one of those players for me that has everything in abundance in his locker, but he could just never find the key, and it would frustrate you time and time again. Occasionally he'd do it, and you'd be like, right, okay, there he is. This is his moment, and his moments were always fleeting and just surrounded by by the most baffling displays that you can think of. But yeah, he was entertaining to watch. We signed him twice, and the second time the fan base was quite divided. And by the end of it, everyone was like, "Yeah, it's not going to happen for him."
You also had, another friend of our show in Digger Davies. I mean, he was just a complete workhorse at Birmingham and was, again, phenomenal. Another name that fans, again, I don't think really turned to him. That was Lee Novak. Never really stood out. Again, I did a little bit of magic, but nothing major at Birmingham. Captain Fantastic in Michael Morrison. I mean, what a player, what a defender. He was phenomenal while he was there. Marcus Bent as well, represented both clubs.
Yeah.
Then a few names going back over the years. Carl Tyler, Gary Poole, again, another superb player for Birmingham. Alone, back in 96, 97, Ricky Otto. He was, again, legend at Birmingham. Chris White, one of the most nice guys you could ever want to meet. And was never afraid to put his foot in when he was playing at the club. And then going back over the years, Jeff Scott, and then finally Alan Campbell between the clubs. So there's been some good, great players that have transferred between them back over the years. So we go come to the weekend. Like I say, I never take anything for granted. Never, ever, ever. This league is way still too unpredictable because teams can turn up and be absolutely brilliant on their day. You can get some freak results. So I never take anything for granted. But tell us your thoughts going into the weekend on the results and what you think it'll be with your head. And then what does your heart tell you?
Well, I think we're talking about teams turning up against you. I think that Bielik has lit the fire under every single League One club with his comments in the week, which I thought, are probably fair, but were probably a bit tone deaf. Actually, if you're going to have that much swagger, you're sort of putting yourself on a pedestal to be shot at. And I think him in particular might find that he gets a little bit of rough treatment from a few players who don't fancy that. And if I was a League One manager, I'd be sticking that on the wall. So it's nice to know that that the fans are a little bit more magnanimous in their approach. But I mean, Saturday, I said watching Wrexham, and we were still in a good place at that point. The Birmingham Wrexham game, I felt that we actually had more of a chance of getting a result out of a Birmingham type side than we did out of a Wrexham type side. Mm-hmm. But that was predicated on us being the hard pressing, high energy, difficult to beat, streetwise side that we had been at the start of the season, and we've really fallen away from that. So my head and my heart are both saying that it's a defeat. My heart is saying it will be a smaller defeat than my head is, just because it really wants to come out with a bit of respect. But I do think that there is, being a Charlton fan for as long as I have been, invariably will go to a team that has won one game all season in Bristol Rovers, or 2 games all season in Bristol Rovers, and 1 in 7 against the bottom of the league, and will be awful. And then we'll turn up against the top of the league and be phenomenal. So there is still that outside hope, but I just think that the margins between the clubs and the finances and the backing that the managers have is just too steep for us to go around. So if we do win, it will be a 1-0, and I think Birmingham fans on the train home will be going, how do we not take one of those chances? And I think that's our absolute best hope. But still, my heart and my head are both saying, unfortunately, a loss.
I mean, going into it, I like to say, I find it hard to predict because I just don't know what the teams are going to do to come up against us, and the team's on a high. They're going to take it forwards. They're going to want to keep that momentum. So, I'm going to go with a 2-0, but I think it'll be tough. I think we'll really have to work for it. And like I say, I don't take anything for granted. Maybe we'll just catch you at the right time. But then also, like you say, we might catch the backlash now of the poor results that you've had and things like that. So I'll stick with 2-0. and hopefully we'll come out the end of that with that one. And before we finish, we've got a full away fans making their way down again. You know, phenomenal support as always. They will be loud, they will be proud. But one of the things they always love to do is have a beverage before the game. So where do you recommend that people come and have a drink and enjoy themselves before kickoff?
Well, if you're more into your lagers and your sort of fizzy stuff, then there'll be a number of pubs. The Anti-Galligan or the Angustin, I can never remember which way round. One of them's shut and one of them hasn't. One of them's now flats and one of them's still a pub. But I think it's the Anti-Galligan that is still open. No, I'm going to go with the Angustin. I'm going to change again. I think it's the Angustin that's still open, but that's on Woolwich Road. And then there's a couple of others which the police designate as away fan pubs. But if you're into your proper beer, then I actually have a pub of my own, micropub in Greenwich called the River Ale House on Woolwich Road. And we'll be running probably 7, if not at times maybe even 8, depending on how busy we are. Real ales behind the bar, darks, pales, bitter. So take your pick, and then you can grab food from local takeaway restaurants to have in as well. So if you're into your real ale, especially if you're a camera member, because we've got a camera discount too, then come on down and visit us on Woolwich Road, and that's River Ale House.
Awesome, and we'll make sure that's put out there. So thank you very much for joining us
Perfect.
On the away end and for your input. Looking forward to a good game at the weekend. And as always, I'll just sign off by saying thanks a lot again and keep right on.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Cheers.
And there it is, that's as good as it gets on this stage. Nissan Townstar EV strikes again. It's an unstoppable van, unstoppable.
Just fantastic. You can actually see the Pro Pilot technology in action. Effortless parallel
It
parking.
moves with all the confidence that comes with a 5-year warranty.
And with a bench full of all-star van experts, there's real strength in depth here.
That's all-star quality.
Search Nissan Townstar EV and visit your local all-star van centre to see for yourself.
Terms and conditions apply. 5 years or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first.
Pro Pilot is an advanced driver assist technology. Driver's responsibility to stay alert, drive safely, and control vehicle at all times.
Let's talk about something that's not always top of mind, but still really important: life insurance. Why? Because it offers financial protection for your loved ones and can help them pay for things like a mortgage, credit card debt. It can even help fund an education. And guess what? Life insurance is probably a lot more affordable than you think. In fact, most people think life insurance is 3 times more expensive than it is. So with State Farm Life Insurance, you can protect your loved ones without breaking the bank. Not sure where to start? State Farm has over 19,000 local agents that can help you choose an option to fit your needs and budget. Get started today and contact a State Farm agent or go to statefarm.com.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.